Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Timist Podcast Series. My name is James, and I am the Timist and the host of the thing you're currently listening to. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by someone who has built a veritable empire, not of bricks or mortar, but of Speedmasters and pure joy for the watch hobby and the industry as a whole. He's given us Speedy Tuesdays, and today, even a bit of his precious time. It's the founder of Fratello Watches, RJ Brewer. In this episode, RJ walks us through how he got bit by the watch bug, how he sold his car to buy his first Speedmaster, and even how Fratello Watches came to be the multinational media and watch powerhouse that we know today. He brings us behind the scenes and explains what it actually takes to run an operation at this level, from the editorial stage to design, marketing, localization, and even watch collaborations with the likes of Omega. We also dive into topics like journalistic integrity, the rise of AI within the industry, the recently announced tariffs that rock the watch world, and of course, maintaining an authentic and responsible voice in an age of clickbait titles and hype-driven media. Lastly, we end on a high note with a series of rapid-fire questions. All this and so much more. So sit back, relax, grab a drink and a snack as we get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Timist Podcast Series. Today, I'm excited to be joined by someone who is, for all intents and purposes, part of the very fabric that stitches together the watch community as a whole. In fact, if you've ever heard of Speedy Tuesday, you have this man to thank. He's a passionate watch collector, and although he'll never accept the title, I consider him the godfather of all things Omega related. He's kind and soft-spoken, which is kind of weird because he is a Dutchman. He's the founder and creative mind behind what we all know as Fratello Watches. It's Robert Jan Brewer, also known as RJ. Welcome, my friend. I'm thrilled to have you here today. Thanks for taking the time out of your, I'm sure, incredibly busy schedule. How are you?
Good, and what an amazing introduction. Thank you for that. And Godfather is a bit too much, but I'll accept it.
I'm glad to hear it, and you deserve it. I mean, you've done so much for the community, and I think it's very fitting. So I'm glad you like it.
Great, thanks. Much appreciated.
Of course. Quick question: does Nacho know that you're here? Does he know that you're cheating on your own podcast to talk to me?
Nacho just left, and he helped me adjusting the studio lights a little bit. So
Okay.
Normally I'm a bit more pale, but somehow these lights work very well on me.
You look fantastic. Okay, so don't even worry about it. Let's set the table a little bit. For anyone that may not know, how your watch journey began, could you just start us off by walking us through some of your historical highlights, maybe from the early days growing up, leading to your banking, IT, and marketing background too.
Mhm.
Essentially, what amounts to shifting your entire focus to Fratello and building
Yeah.
it out into the full-fledged watch media brand that it currently is.
Yeah, I was always interested in watches, even as a kid. As far as I can remember, I was interested in watches. But as a kid, you work with different budgets, right? Or no budgets at all. So I remember getting my first Casio watch, but even before, I had some digital watches. So I grew up with digital watches mainly. I was born in '77, so I remember that I received a mechanical watch, and I can't remember what it was, what kind of brand. But I think, yeah, it was a small, like a boy-size watch, and I think my dad got it from somewhere. I don't know, but I don't have any like proper memory of it, or I also don't know where it went. But what I vividly remember is all the digital watches, and at some point I had a lot of them. And then in the 90s, of course, late 80s, I guess, Swatch came along as well. So I had a lot of Swatch watches as well. But I was always interested in watches. And in the 90s, when I started to do my studies, so I was a little bit older then, in my late teens, I really got interested in watches, went to the jeweler stores, asked for brochures, and it was a bit of the pre-internet time, pre-forums and so on, and very much pre-social media. So you had to get your information from elsewhere. And then I started buying magazines as well, in print, German magazines, because in the Netherlands we also tend to be able to read and understand German. It's not that far away. language-wise. And so I bought those. And later on, I think there was Watch Time magazine, the US magazine, was also available here on subscription. So I had that, and that basically formed my watch knowledge. And yeah, that's basically what it is. And then in 1998, I received my first watch for my graduation from my mom. It was an Omega Constellation. I was interested in those already because those run in the family, basically. So not Speedmasters, but Constellations. And 1 year later, in 99, I purchased my first Speedmaster. Yeah, and then it went crazy from there, basically. With that Constellation, I thought, oh, this is the watch I really want to have, and this is the only watch I ever need, yada, yada, yada. You know the story. I think everyone does. And then 1 year later, I find myself saving up, or well, selling my car to be able to purchase that Speedmaster watch. And yeah, from that moment on, I started collecting not only Speedmasters, but also other watches from other brands, other models, and so on. And then in 2004, I started Fratello as a side project, as a hobby, basically, and did it all by myself. And then later on, other people joined, but I was quite late, some later. And then, yeah, at some point it transitioned into like a proper project with many people, and then at some point it started to become a business, and that's what it is today. And it still doesn't feel like a business. Well, sometimes it does, of course, but in general, it still feels like 20 years ago, writing about watches and discovering watches and sharing the passion for watches. And I always feel it's a two-way channel because we write about watches, and I don't write as much as I used to. We have a team now, but I still write, but I also do read the comments and so on. And that's where I feel it's a two-way street, where we also see and listen to the comments, what our readers have to say, and sometimes use that as input as well. So the engagement is quite high, and that's something I really enjoy, and I always enjoyed that. Also, previously to Fratello, I was very active on watch forums like Time Zone and Watch You Seek, and I always enjoyed the conversation with other watch nerds, basically, and I still do.
I love it. It sounds like it was quite the journey, but isn't it interesting and funny how sometimes a hobby, a passion, a love for something can kind of lead to, um, well, what you have today, what you've built. You have a team. You're based out of The Hague. Is that right?
Yep. Yep.
It's
Yes.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And I never imagined when I started Fratello in 2004 that it would be a business or my full-time occupation. But yeah, in 2015 or so, we yeah, started doing this more or less on a full-time base. And then in 2018 or 2019, we hired the first person on a payroll, which was super exciting. And now, yeah, we have quite a team, yeah, running Fratello on a day-to-day basis. And that sometimes I am at these watch events or at a brand event, for example, and I just cannot imagine anymore how I did it all by myself. And later on, with one extra or two extra persons, you really need a team. I feel these days to have the same pace and to do it in a proper way, because yeah, it's a lot of work, as you know. You need the photography, you need video, you need someone who writes, you need someone who can maintain the website or develop the website. You need someone for e-commerce in our case. Yeah, it's just crazy. You need someone in our case as well to do the copy editing, because only a very few persons are native English speakers. So I'm obviously not, but we have Nacho or Ignacio. He grew up in the US. We have Michael Stockton. He's from the US. And we have Brandon doing all the copy editing, and he's an American living in Japan.
Wow.
And so yeah, I think if you run an international title and you're not native English speaking or writing, I think you need to have that control in place, where you at least make sure that everything is written correctly and everything is in the same voice, basically.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And in today's day and age, and we'll get to it a little bit later, it's kind of expected for publication or any kind of media outlet to have certain things in place. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
necessary thing to have a team
Yeah.
nowadays. So
Especially also now with video, because we have a bunch of people in the office who are Dutch, so not native English speaking. Sometimes it's still difficult because in writing it's fine because we have that extra control in place by Brandon, the copy editor. But on video, there's no shortcuts. You have to translate on the fly basically and do
hmm hmm
everything in English. Yeah, so
yeah.
sometimes that leads into a bit of a weird conversation. Sometimes we use then Dutch words or German words or English words, but people accept it. It seems that they are fine with it. It's
No,
okay.
I think it's great. I think in a way you're kind of internationalizing your audience, and exposure to different languages and words can't hurt. I think it's a good thing.
Exactly.
Before we dive into more deeper conversations, I think the comments would be yelling at me at this point. RJ, what watch are you wearing? What's on the wrist today?
Yeah, so I'm wearing today an Omega Constellation, or actually, it's an Omega Globemaster,
Beauty.
which is part of the Constellation family. And as said, my first watch, well, serious watch was well, not to say that Casios are not serious, but my first proper luxury watch, to put it like that, I hate the word luxury, was a Constellation. And so besides my Speedmaster collection, I also collect Constellations. And well, this is one of them. It's the Globemaster with the pipe and dial. It's in rose gold, or Sedna gold, as Omega calls it, on the leather strap. And it's I got it in 2017. And yeah, I don't wear it that often, but recently I find myself wearing it quite a bit.
Oh, it's a beauty. Thank you for sharing. And in honor of, speaking with you today, I'm wearing my Omega shirt. I consider it to be an Omega shirt just because it has the moon on it. And of course, I'm wearing
There you
my
go.
Silver Snoopy. You and I have talked about it ad
Yeah,
nauseum. Thank you for humoring me. And I'll ask you another question in a little bit tied to
sure.
being harassed online with everyone's questions. So thank
Yeah,
you for
of course, no
sharing.
problem. And I remember you getting it. And I was thinking this morning, shall I wear the Speedmaster for the podcast? But then I think it's also something that people expect me to do, right? So,
Yes,
but yeah,
yes.
let's do something different. I will stick to the brand that's close to my heart, but I'll pick another watch that's also close to my heart, the Constellation.
Oh, it's well chosen and way to subvert expectations. I think it's great. We talked about it a little bit and you mentioned it, but you're sort of famously known to have sold your car so that you could buy a Speedmaster. Now,
Yeah.
you know that I'm a car guy just like you. So please, RJ, please help me understand and walk me through the how and the why you would do such a thing.
Well, I love cars. I don't have any proper place for a really nice one. So I just drive a family car. But when I was 19, I think, 19 or 20, I got a Peugeot 205 GTI,
Hmm
which I think today, well, at that time, it was also a bit of an iconic car already. But I think today it holds a different place with car people. It's much appreciated, and I think the value developed also tremendously if you have a good one, that is. Um, and
Yeah.
mine was already quite old, but it was well maintained, I have to say. But I grew up in the east part of the Netherlands, near the German border, and there was no public transport basically. There goes a train from west to east in the Netherlands, so that was the thing. But all the public transportation on a local basis was really like non-existing. So yeah, I needed a car when I grew up in the east part of the Netherlands, so I had it. And then I moved to the west part, to The Hague, near the sea. And there in the larger cities, the public transport is much, much, much better. So I actually already did not need that car anymore when I lived here in The Hague as a student. So when I saw the Speedmaster in the window of the watch shop here in The Hague, um, I thought, yeah, well, what do I need the car for? I can also go back by train to my parents and so on. So that's what I did. Sold the car, bought a watch, and never looked back. But I have to say, sometimes when I see a 205 GTI in a pristine condition, I go a little bit weak, and oh, that's nice. It's a great car. I there were two versions actually. There was a 1.6 and a 1.9. Um, both were nice, but I had the 1.6, but everyone knew you had to have the 1.9, of course. The 1.6 was a little bit older, and I think after a few years in the 80s, the 1.9 came. They had different wheels, and also the interior was slightly different. I think the 1.9 had half leather seats, and mine had fabric seats. Um, but what I loved about the car was it was all black, except for the carpet, which was like bright red.
That's
And
a stark contrast.
I think they were all the same, but I'm not very sure. But I think all had the same bright red carpet in the car with the black, gray, and red seats, sport seats.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. The 205 is a classic, and I think every now and then we'll have a Cars and Coffee here, and we'll have one pop up, and there's quite a few. You can tell it's a different kind of enthusiast that will keep walking around these classic cars now,
Yeah.
and go, yeah,
But back
I
then, when
can.
I was young, so all the kids that got a driver's license, so driver's license here in the Netherlands, you can get at 18. I think these days you can start at 17, but it was all 18 years old. It was always the hard like deadline. Then you could start with your driving lessons and then get your driver's license. And when I was young, the most popular cars were the Volkswagen Golf GTI, mainly Type 2 back then. Some had a Type 1, and the 205s, and I think the Renault 5 Turbo, the nice one.
Oh
They
yeah.
were already a bit older, and you didn't see them as much. And I think the Honda Civic DOHC, they were also quite popular at the time.
And for those that are
Tiny.
not car folks, these are small cars. If not aware,
Yes, yeah,
all these cars are pretty small, compact.
yeah,
You would describe them as hatchbacks now,
yeah. Hot hatches,
hot
they said.
hatches.
Hot hatches.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. I hope that one day you'll find the space, the time, and hopefully the money to bring it back into the proverbial collection. I'd love to see it in your garage.
Not sure I would buy back a 205 GTI because it also gave a lot of headaches because they're not the best cars. I would buy something totally different, I guess. But yeah, that's a different topic.
RJ, you're sometimes referred to as Mr. Speedy Tuesday, and I briefly mentioned it during the intro, but you basically invented Speedy Tuesday, the hashtag and sort of the movement. And
Yep,
back in 2012, this
yep,
was, right? Yep. So that eventually blossomed into the creation of two Omega Speedmaster limited edition drops.
yep.
So my question is twofold. What was the genesis or sort of the spark that gave birth to Speedy Tuesday for you? And the second half of the question is the one that I mentioned earlier. Are you sick and tired of random people messaging you on Instagram talking to you about Speedmasters?
Well, let's start with the first one then.
Yeah.
Um, no, it was quite organic, I have to say, and I think that's also where the authenticity lies. That I was on a holiday and I was in the south of France, and I took a picture of my watch on the wrist, and I put it online in I think it was a Facebook group called Wrist Shots, so I don't know, and I don't think it exists anymore, at least not the same one. And I thought of a caption, and I just came up with It's Speedy Tuesday because there was a Tuesday, and it was a Speedmaster. And then as soon as I published it, I thought, that's actually a very nice working title for on to use on Fratello. Because at the time I was also thinking about how can I get more people to Fratello? How can I get more traffic, basically? And I didn't have any like recurring topic on the website, not a column or a recurring kind of title. And then I thought, man, this really sounds nice, Speedy Tuesday. So let's try it and see what it does. And then, well, I did first every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but very soon I got a lot of messages and emails and so on from people that also collect Speedmasters or very enthusiastic about it. And then it became a weekly thing. And well, I didn't really measure the impact on the traffic because I was just very occupied in digesting all these stories and all these things and talking to other Speedmaster fans and enthusiasts and collectors, that it became a thing on its own. And then many years later, I had a lunch it was a lunch, I think, in Switzerland with the then new CEO of Omega, Reynald Aschliman. And he knew about Speedy Tuesday, of course, but then we had this lunch and he said, yeah, what can we do together? And can we come up with something nice that for the community, because I like what you do and I like how fanatical some people are. And he's really passionate about watches. So it was not a typical sales thing whatsoever, it felt. And that was also important to me. And then we went back and forth about doing something. And well, we came up with the Speedy Tuesday tribute to Alaska 3 because we had one. Well, I didn't have an office. I had a home office back then. I had one in my home office from an astronaut, the son of an astronaut who kept one, didn't give it back to NASA, basically. Now
Oops,
it's back.
forgot.
Yeah, well, not sure if it was an oops, but now it's back at NASA. And that watch triggered the design of the Speedy Tuesday model in 2017, basically. And we came up with it for the 5th anniversary of the Speedy Tuesday movement or community. And we went back and forth on the design, but we definitely want to have something with a radial dial, like the original Alaska 3 model from 79, 78. And we want to have a reverse panda because that was never done before in a Speedmaster professional, I have to say. And so they countered the design that we came up with, and we said no to a sapphire, and we said no to ceramic, and we said no to a steel bracelet. So they came back with another design with a Hasselite crystal aluminum bezel and the leather strap. And from there we moved onwards. And we're really involved in the whole creative design, but also in the whole process of production, getting everything done right, the marketing efforts, up to the selling of the watch, basically. That happened at Omega, but they really kept us very closely in the loop. And also afterwards, when the watch was sold and introduced, whenever there was an issue with something, they would also involve us. And when we were approached by someone that said, for example, oh, my watch doesn't loom as good as it should be, or I don't know what, then we would also give this back to Omega, and it was handled in a very direct and personal way. And it also showed us that they are very passionate at Omega about these things and about watches, but also about these projects, and they really take it at heart. And sometimes also, for me personally, I have to also take this personally. Before, I was much more harsh in my way how I approach brands. This is not good, and this stinks, and this is not done in the right way, and why are you doing this? This is a money grab whatsoever. And then I learned it from the other side of the table that no, they do their best. They really put in effort, and they're really passionate about what they do and the watches they produce, and they really take it at heart. So it's much more of a gray area, and there's no reason to be so harsh towards each other, basically. So that was a good learning point. And then 1 year later, we had the Ultraman in 2018. There was a bit of a tribute to the Ultraman watches from the late 60s, 70s that were used in the series and movies Ultraman. And were great projects. I can't say otherwise. But I also want to stress that Speedy Tuesday is not about these 2 limited edition watches. It's much more about the community, doing get-togethers and sharing information and basically sharing the passion for this wonderful chronograph that Omega produced.
Thank you for sharing. And it never did it cross my mind that it was just solely focused on these 2 models. It does feel like a movement, pun not intended. It is a community, a club, the spirit of what the Speedmaster stands for. So kudos to you and props and well done. It's funny how, again, a little something, a little spark, a little je ne sais quoi at some point in time can turn into not only 2 watches made with a brand that is well respected and known the world over, but also form a community and a place for people to gather to share that passion. So well done.
Yeah, thank you. And it's really nice. And this year we didn't do an event, but I think up to last year we did Speedy Tuesday events together with Omega, sometimes on our own. But it just requires a lot of capacity and planning and so on. This year is a bit of a busy year for us, but we're really planning on bringing them back. And I think these events were much appreciated worldwide, and we need to restart it. But to answer, and that also is a bit of a leeway into your second question, basically. No, I never get tired of people asking me questions about the Speedmaster. And I have to say, it changed a little bit. In the past, I got a lot of emails. These days, it's much more either directly WhatsApp or Instagram direct messages that people have questions on the Speedmaster. And always happy to answer and happy to help if there's an issue or if there's something they want to know, or if I can help somewhere with sourcing stuff, or just answering questions about a certain model or decision that Omega took in a certain Speedmaster. I'm always happy to either forward that question or to answer it, because many questions have already been asked. So we have a bit of not a database, but it's all here. Questions that have been asked in the past. And sometimes I also use these questions in articles on the website. We have over 500 articles in the Speedy Tuesday category. Where we, not only me, but also my colleagues, we discuss Speedmasters. And sometimes we use these frequently asked questions to, and use them in an article, basically. Whenever there's a question, happy to help.
Well, that's perfect. Thank you for offering, and I'm sure some people listening or watching will take you up on that. Brace yourself. So we've seen the watch industry on a wild and frankly unprecedented roller coaster ride since 2020. We had the crazy highs of 2022, 2023, then the corrections taking place in 2024. And now we're looking at something brand new. And my good friend and colleague that's been on the podcast, Adam, actually submitted this question. I think it's valid. Tariffs. What are your thoughts, and how will this potentially affect the watch world, and what could it mean for us as enthusiasts, but also for the brands, right? I think it's all so new and fresh, and I think everyone's scrambling a little bit. But what's your take on this?
As said at the start, I'm in the Netherlands, so I pay 21% VAT
From the start, always, yeah.
So whenever I buy a watch in Switzerland, which I can buy without VAT, or when I buy a watch in Japan, or when I buy a watch in the US, I have to pay 21% VAT upon import, plus some administrative fees, plus VAT on the administrative fees. So there you go.
So it's nothing new for you. This has been happening.
It's not something really new to us. Because you can buy the watches without VAT if you're in the US. You just have to then pay the tariffs, I guess. I guess it works like that. So for me, it's a bit of do you pay still VAT when you import a watch, or is it a tariff and that's it? That's not entirely clear to me. So I'm not based in the US. I'm not very familiar with all the tax. But yeah, we pay 21%. I know that in the Scandinavian countries, they pay like 25%. I know that from the Netherlands or EU to the US, now it's 15%, 15. And now Switzerland is 39%, I've been told. But I also feel, and again, I'm not into politics whatsoever, and I don't bother too much. You can't change it anyway from here. I also have the feeling that often Trump, he states something, and it's just a start to negotiate. So I guess if he says now, hey, 39%, that's it. I think it's him waiting at the negotiation table, waiting for the Swiss to come over to say, okay, let's negotiate now. Because I think the Swiss were very stubborn not to negotiate in the past. And then Trump got a bit more angry and said, hey, it's not 31% anymore. Now it's 39%. The ball is now in the court of the Swiss, I feel. And that's, I think, the way that the US president has done it before. And it's still this thing. So I can imagine it can also go back to 1.5, so 15%. But the Swiss have to deal with it. They have to negotiate, right? And watches are for them an important export product, as is, I think, medication, at least to us. The pharmaceutical industry in Switzerland is quite important. So not sure how much they export to the US. And there's chocolate, of course, and I don't know what else they produce. But I can imagine they just need to come to the negotiation table and see what can be done. And until then, I can see that it stops people from buying Swiss watches, or better said, it will stop the retailers and importers in the US from buying from Switzerland, or pause it at least for a little while. And I can also see that it has an uptick. How do you say this? An uptick for the pre-owned market.
Oh yeah, yeah, like a bump, like a positive
Yeah,
increase. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because we noticed when he said this back in March or April during the Watches and Wonders, this news came about on a Thursday, I recall. Everyone was in full panic mode, and then it went away a little bit, and now it's back again, the panic. But yeah, it's all about negotiation with Trump, and I think everyone knows this. So I also don't understand the shock effect that well, because they know it's the same. He does the same thing every time. So by now they should know it's a negotiation thing. Then go to the negotiation table and do it.
Yep. There's precedent. You know what to do.
Yeah, and I don't get the shock effect every time because it's the same thing over and over again. It's how he operates, and you can have your opinion about that. I don't have an opinion about it, but meanwhile, I know this is the way he works.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Let's go to sunnier days, shall we? Here's a hypothetical. It's the perfect summer. You're in Saint-Tropez. You're getting ready for an amazing road trip that will take you across the French Riviera and ultimately lead you to Monaco. Money no object, RJ. What car are you driving and what watch are you wearing?
I think I have more difficulties with the car than with the watch. The car would probably be something.
The 205, right?
No, 1.5, was it 1 year ago? I think about 1 year ago, I was invited by Chopard to come to France because the Schäufele family, the owners of Chopard, it's a family business. They have a winery or wine chateau in France, and they introduced the new watches that would come out later on. So it was all under embargo, and they showed us around on the winery. But they also organized a trip with classic cars. So Chopard arranged from, I think, a local classic car club in France. They arranged some cars, vintage cars, that we could drive around for a couple of hours and then have some lunch somewhere and then drive back. There was the whole super nice press treatment that you can imagine. That happens every day of the week, of course. And they had a lineup of cars, and one of them was a Jaguar XJ Mark Series 2 or Series 3. I think that was Series 2. And it was very emotional because my stepfather, who passed away 2 years ago, when I was younger, he had a Jaguar XJ Series 3 from the early 80s in this beautiful metal blue color. And it was a six-cylinder inline, 4.2. And while driving that car in France, because my stepfather and my mom, they also used to live in that region in France years ago, it was very emotional. And I never could imagine that this whole drive and with the scenery was so emotional. It was so much fun to drive that car there and it brought back so many memories. So I would say I would drive that car, Jaguar XJ Series 3, 4.2 liter. And I will wear not a Speedmaster, but I think I will wear a Ploprof.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. For me,
Interesting.
I realized in recent years that that's my ultimate holiday watch. Whenever I go on a holiday in the summer, I bring that watch. It's a great conversation maker if you bump into other watch people, and it's a do-it-all watch. It's heavy, that's true, and but it's relatively comfortable on my wrist, and it's water resistant, and it's just a fun watch. And it has the nice orange color for in the sun. It has the shark bracelet, the mesh bracelet. So that would be my pick.
Okay, a Jag and a Ploprov. I dig
Yeah,
it. I
I just
dig
need
it.
to watch out that I don't damage the car with that watch.
Seriously, yeah. Seriously. Because the watch can definitely take it. The car being a vintage classic, I don't know, we'll see. But thank you for sharing. That sounds like it was an emotional, beautiful, sort of magical experience for you. And I'm really glad that you had that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely.
Let's shift gears back towards watches and dive a little deeper. The democratized internet has, for all intents and purposes, sort of changed the world with more people having access to the web, and of course, as a
Yeah,
result, keyboards, as you know.
yeah.
That plus the recent explosion of AI as of late has led me to ponder, this specific question, that is, reliable and trustworthy journalism and even reviews are getting harder and harder to find.
Mhm.
How important is authenticity? And you mentioned this previously, authenticity and transparency. And how do you see it manifesting at Fratello Watches? And how does that tie into, with the recent partnership with Chrono 24? Mhm.
So Chrono 24 is our main shareholder, and it gives us some kind of independency, but we still have to keep up our own pants. We have to make money. We need to be our own business, and they don't interfere with us. Content-wise, they don't interfere. They never interfered, and they leave us as is, and they respect what we do, and it's vice versa. Respect is mutual. If there are grounds to do something together, that's good. And sometimes there is. Sometimes we can use their data. Sometimes we can, of course, when we write about a watch that is not available anymore, or if you write about a pre-owned watch, I'm happy to include links to Chrono 24 offers because that's the go-to place for many people anyway. But we're not paid for it or whatsoever. It's just, I think, mutual understanding of our companies. Um, AI, we don't use AI to write articles because I also feel sometimes I put in some question in Google, watch related or not, and I think the first result is now an AI response, right? So you see the AI thing typing, you see some, and then often when it's watch related, I see sources, I see Fratello quoted or Hodinkee or I don't know. Um, and then I think, damn it, people should go to Fratello or even Hodinkee and then go move onwards to those websites. But people, they want to know what's the diameter of, I don't know, a Rolex Submariner 5508. And then AI will give you the answer based on what's available on the internet, right? It doesn't come up with it itself. So the content already needs to exist. That's one thing. So at one hand, it eats traffic from us because people get their answer from AI. On the other hand, I also noticed very often it's wrong. So a lot of AI. Last weekend, I'm a little bit into vintage audio now these days as a side project, and I wanted to learn something about some Bang& Olufsen system, and I googled it, and AI came with an answer, and I thought to myself, this can't be right. This just that's not correct what it said. So I clicked on one of the sources and I could not reproduce the answer that AI created. I saw the proper answer in the article on the website. I think it was What Hi-Fi or one of these websites that is into hi-fi or forum, I don't know. There I found the correct answer, but AI used that source and then still fabricated a wrong answer. When I was at NASA or Axiom a few months ago with Omega, um, a journalist asked one of the persons there, do you use AI to develop spacesuits? Because we're at this Axiom thing where they develop spacesuits for NASA. And they said, no, we don't trust it. We can't rely on the information it gives, so we don't use AI whatsoever. So at one hand, I think it's a very powerful tool, is a very powerful thing if you ask a question, but you need to verify. But if my daughter does a project for school, she's in primary school, was, um, she also uses AI, and it gives some right answers, it gives some direction, but you have to, even she has to verify the information it gives. And I think that's a tricky one. If you use AI to help you write an article or write something, it's fine if you use the right prompts. But if you use it as a Google tool to get your information, it's bothersome that you still need to be able to that you still need to verify your information. If you go to Fratello or Hodinkee or Time and Tide, Monochrome, or Blocked Watch, you know all the titles. Man, you need to be able to rely on the information there that it's correct. We get our press releases. We ask the brands these questions. How do you say? We are authentic, but also we are used as like a reliable source, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That also has a reason that we do this for many years, and we know we can't make mistakes and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And AI makes those mistakes, and I'm very afraid that people just will start to use those answers for other publications or YouTube videos or podcasts whatsoever, and it's
Yeah.
just wrong. It's just factual wrong. And but I also understand that AI is still in its early stages, right? So I think it will become better and better. And then to answer your question, I believe in the end, people like to follow people. If you watch the Grand Tour or in the past Top Gear, you like to watch Jeremy Clarkson. And I think that's what you follow. You don't follow an AI kind of text and I think it's also still very obvious when something is produced by AI. So
Hmm.
I still believe that people like to follow people. And I think there it's more important that we show more face on Fratello on the website, but also to double down on the production of video and podcast and so on, that people really follow people and not some kind of computerized image or voice or text. On the one hand, it's I think reliable information still, but I think AI can catch up at some point. On the other hand, is I think people like to follow people, and if people don't like me, they perhaps like Ben Clymer or Ariel Adams and can go there to get their information. That's all fine. But I think in the end, yeah, if you like the tone of voice that we have at Fratello, or you like the podcast topics, and or you can relate to us somehow, yeah, sure, by all means. Happy to have you as a reader, follower, listener, viewer, and so on. Um, but yeah, so that's why I believe how it's being played. But I also believe that because of that, video is becoming more and more important because that's where you can see faces and where you can see, hey, this is a genuine opinion or reliable source whatsoever. And with text, that will become more and more difficult because if you Google, you will also get websites that are fully made by AI rather than with an editorial team that, yeah, writes text by themselves, how it should be.
No, completely. And to your point, I think I fully agree. Eventually, we're going to be so super saturated. And I think we're kind of getting there to some extent where everything seems the same and sort of prefabricated
Yep.
because AI just uses data in aggregate, and more often than not, like you said, it's not reliable. So really, are you saving time because if you know that it's not accurate, you have to go in and
Yeah. And I think
double
there.
check.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was the word I was searching for. That's what you get when you're not a native English speaker. I think we are quite credible in what we do when it comes to reliability. And so is Hodinkee, and so is a blog to watch and a Revolution and so on. And I think with AI, it's much more difficult to track because you also want to track, I think, the source where they get their information from.
Hmm.
Um, and even then, like I said, when I put something in Google and an AI came with an answer on vintage hi-fi, and I thought that can't be right. They still got it from a credible source. I think what hi-fi is a credible source, and they just interpreted it wrongly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but there I can see that AI will learn and learn, and it will become a different thing, and more reliable. But
Hmm.
yeah, with video, I think that's where the difference will be then in the years to come. That people will listen to more podcasts and watch more video.
And great example with Jeremy Clarkson. Yeah, if you grew up in the 90s, 2000s and you were a car nut, I mean Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May were your car friends. They were
Yeah,
the people that you wanted to hang out with.
yeah,
And of course, once they transitioned over to the Grand Tour, again, uh, case in point, my wife and I watched Clarkson's Farm.
yeah,
We were not interested in farming. This was just something that we clicked on because it had Jeremy Clarkson. We're like, let's see what this is all about. And now we're, head deep in it. Like we've seen every single season. And you stay for the character, you stay for the person, not necessarily the publication, let's say.
yeah. Do I need to send you a pair of wooden shoes?
Uh, Clogs? You want to send me
Yes,
clogs? Yeah, sure. I'll
good.
accept.
That's what
But
all the
only
farmers wear still these days here in the Netherlands.
Oh, I was gifted one single clog when I graduated and I left The Hague, and it was signed by all my classmates, and it was a beautiful
Nice.
thing. So I have one,
Oh
but I
yeah,
need
Yeah, you need another one.
I need another one.
Yeah.
Thanks, RJ. Real quick, because I know we're running out of time. Could you give me one example of a time where you got carried away by the hype train in relation to a timepiece and then realized, you know what, this really isn't the piece for you? And then the inverse of that, which is, you didn't pay attention to a specific watch for whatever reason. And then in the end, you realized that it was a sleeper hit. So, like something that you were wowed by initially, but really it was just hype, and then something that was sort of a hidden gem.
I have to say, I never really jumped on a hype train. And I also feel that sometimes we are accused of creating a hype on watches. Well, Speedmaster is one thing, or Moonswatch, or any Rolex, basically. As always, people are trigger happy to comment on it. I never really felt a hype for something because we also, I think, a bit on the forefront when something comes out, and even before we already know about it and have a lot of time to digest. So there's not really a FOMO moment for us. So I don't really believe that we did something that I personally went on a hype train with something. I do say that I sold watches because they got hyped. A good example is the Royal Oak. I was very much a Royal Oak fan in the late 90s and early 2000s and well, even 2010s, I believe. And at some point, I just got fed up with it because the watch got famous for all the wrong reasons. And I was also not a fan of the previous CEO of Audemars Piguet, although at later moment it was fine. But my first encounters with him were a bit awkward. And then I decided, okay, I'd rather spend my money on a watch or watch brand that I can relate to a bit more. But I also feel that's different if you are working in the industry. We are, as media, we are part of the watch industry, it feels. Um, so you also want to like the persons you're working with on the other side of the table, right? And I think if those people are very friendly and you can relate to them, it's also easier to spend money on these brands. And as soon as you don't particularly fancy someone, um, you're not that willing to spend money on that brand as well. So for me, it's
Yeah.
different. But yeah, perhaps the CEO of BMW is a very unpleasant person. I don't know, but I'm still very much a BMW fan, you know? So I think if you're a bit further away and you are a consumer, I think it's very different. But me working, being part of this industry, I do have some brands that I then, yeah, rather not have, and do have. Good thing is that a lot of people are super nice that work in this industry. So it's just once in a while that you come across someone that you think, oof, rather not. But in general, it's a very friendly industry and friendly people that are often very passionate about watches. But yeah, that AP is an example of where I thought, no, I rather not. And then I sold those watches due to the hype that was created around the AP. Because when I bought them and even wearing them in the early 2010s, people commented on me because they know I was occupied with watches. They said, "Oh, why are you wearing a grandfather's watch?" They thought the Royal Oak Jumbo was a grandfather's watch. And only a few years later, it became like a big hype watch. In the past, the Royal Oak Offshore was always the watch that everyone wanted to have, and that disappeared somehow. And then the regular Royal Oak became the thing to have, and the Nautilus, and the Overseas, and so on. So I stayed away a little bit from that. And for the rest, at first, I was not that keen on having or wearing Rolex, because I saw, yeah, the watch is being bought for all the wrong reasons, in my opinion. But of course, every reason is one, but just reasons I could not relate to. But then I thought, yeah, I'm now old enough, and I don't care much about what other people think about a certain watch or a brand or whatsoever. So yeah, I discovered they're just really good watches. And I respect them for that. And sometimes I disagree with how they do all their distribution to retailers and so on. But in the end, it's a very good watch. So, and the people are very nice at Rolex to me and to us. So yeah.
Two awesome examples. So the AP was something that you let go of just because of the way the industry kind of transformed it into
Yeah.
what you initially didn't quite sign up for.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Rolex was a brand that initially was at first blush not something that you would sign up for, but over the years.
Yeah. But that was mainly based from an outside kind of view
Mhm.
that I thought, yeah, that's a weird company and how they behave and how, but also the people wearing them and so on. And the comments they get, it's a gaudy or tacky watch. And it was often heard. And now I feel, yeah, but I like them and they're really good watches. And the people are super nice, super friendly. So yeah, why not?
Lovely. So that actually ties into my next question. You speak and interact with a lot of industry folks, both on the collector side, but also from the brands themselves.
Yep. Yep.
What's a common mistake or misconception that you see both sides often making, both just consumers and brands?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think that brands are oft still, unfortunately, a bit too disconnected with the end consumer. There are too many layers in between. Rolex is a bad example because they don't have any retail. Yeah, now they have Bulgare, the retailer. But before that, they didn't have like a point of contact with the end consumer. They have their distribution network. They produce watches. And then the retail network are their partners and sold the watches. And they were in touch with the end consumer. There was always a bit of a firewall in between. So that's not really a good example, but I think with other brands, you see more or less the same, that they should listen a little bit more to what consumers want. And I also know that big brands are like cruise ships or like freight ships, like that it takes too long to adjust their course, to change their position a little bit. It takes a long time, and consumers are often thinking, man, they should do it now because now everyone wants a 37 millimeter watch. Why are they are not producing this right now? And I feel that, yeah, but it's a big ship, huh? And before they change that, and sometimes I also know what's coming, and then I feel, yeah, just have a little bit of patience. It will come. It will come. Don't worry too much. Um,
It
so
is funny how on the outside, as consumers, we'll see a brand come out with a dial color or something, and we go, oh, that, and then we'll see another brand introduce something that's also very
yeah,
similar, and
exactly.
we think it's because the other brand 3 months later somehow were able to crank out a dial color or a case size, and we know that that is not the case. Anything in production, especially medium to large size brands, like you say, they're giant freighters. It's sort of
Sometimes it takes years.
yeah, exactly
And
to
yeah, and
produce.
sometimes also with dial colors, it has been in the making or in the process or pipeline for many months or even years. And then yeah, 1 week after the other, a similar dial color comes out from a different brand, and you see people in the comments, oh, they copied them. No, not really.
Things, I mean, I think it's adorable that people think that things can move at that speed in the
Especially in
industry.
Switzerland, with all due respect, it doesn't move that quick. It's you have to have patience.
There you go.
Um,
Yeah,
so
it's
so
funny
that's
how that
that.
is.
Yeah, so that's one thing from the I think from the audience side or the consumer side, that they think it moves quicker than it actually does. Yeah, like I said, from the brand side, I do still feel that although they don't move that quickly, listen a little bit more to what people actually want.
Hmm.
But sometimes also the consumers. For example, we did an article on the new Casio Edifice um, last week when it came out July 15. We published a little bit later because we want to wait for the watches to be here. And they are like 270 or 280 euros. You get a watch that's nicely finished, nicely done. And they gave a bandwidth of the movement accuracy of, I don't know, -20 plus 40 seconds, so some like a big number. And people are whining and complaining about it. Oh, the accuracy stinks and this and that. And then I think, yes, but what do you exactly expect for 280 euros? Because, do the calculation with me. The retail margin is 50% minus VAT. And in the Netherlands, that's 21%. So the retail margin is 40% net. So that's already like half of it is then the value in the watch itself. But that also includes marketing cost and so on and so on. So the actual production cost of that watch is much lower. It's about 20 to 30% of retail. And then you need to regulate the movement, right? So I don't know how long it will take a watchmaker to regulate the movement, but it's not done in 10 minutes. So it would add so much cost to it to have it done properly that the watch would become even more expensive. And then people would complain that the watch is too expensive. So it's what do you exactly expect for 280 euros? And that sometimes it stuns me that people think, oh, it's not accurate. Yeah, no, of course it's not. It also explains why other watches from Oris or Longines or Tag Heuer or I don't know what are much more expensive because yeah, they put much more effort into the movement, into regulating the movement, making sure it's within COSC or whatever kind of standard. That adds to the price. It's yeah. So that sometimes baffles me that people comment on something that I think, okay, just step back for a minute and do the math a little, try to do the math a little bit and see what it actually costs. Yeah, accuracy is that much of an thing. And at Casio, they think, oh, let's do everyone a favor there because there are so many people that really love mechanical watches and they love Casio, but Casio never did a mechanical watch before. Then they do one, and then they get a lot of crap for it.
I mean, I think you've been in this industry and business long enough to know that a lot of people speak from a place of ignorance, and it's just so much easier and faster to type on a keyboard than it is to do some research or educate yourself in any domain before you speak. Obviously, if you've been in the hobby for a while, you understand the price points, you understand regulation, timing, cost, metas, and all the things that sort of
Mm.
layer on top of each
Yeah,
other
exactly.
that cost money.
Yeah, but for me, I understand the question and the remarks, but I think okay, just wait 5 minutes longer before you grab your keyboard and or grab your keyboard and just yeah try to find out a little bit more about pricing and how it's all done and what makes a watch costing or having the price tag that it has. There are reasons for it, and of course there are margins, but the margins are not that insane as in fashion, for example. It's
Yeah.
all still relatively. These are the margins basically, and the retail margin is 40-50%, which sounds like a lot, but the retailers, they buy these watches, so the risk is also on their shoulders.
Right. Once they purchase it from the brands, it's on their hands. It's
It's on
that
their
they,
hands, and they need to make sure to sell them, make their revenue, and have enough money to buy next year's collection again.
yep, completely. Thank you for sharing. Let's do some rapid fire questions just for funsies. Don't ponder too much. Just speak from the heart. Okay.
Yeah, go.
Here we go. Watches, vintage or modern?
These days, vintage, and for me, vintage then is before 2000.
Okay. Cars, vintage or modern?
From the heart, you say, yeah?
From the heart.
Vintage,
Okay.
classic cars.
Okay.
Not with the mind, eh? Then I would take
No,
modern.
no, 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 no. With the heart. With the heart,
With the
RJ.
heart, with the heart, it's classic cars. Yeah.
Okay. Date or no date complication?
Ah, man, I love my day date Rolex, but in general, I would say no date.
Okay. Steel or precious metal?
Precious metal,
Quartz, manual wind, or automatic?
manual wind.
What is one piece of advice you'd give someone new to the watch hobby?
Follow your heart.
What's your go-to travel companion watch?
Speedmaster.
Watch winders, yay or nay?
Nay.
If you could have
Firm nay.
only, sorry, firm nay?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, you also said manual wind, right?
Also that, but I also I keep my watches in an external safe, and there's no room for that for a watch winder, and they are too noisy, too big, and yeah, just wear your watches or keep them in the safe. That watch, yeah, no.
I agree. I agree. If you could only have one watch for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
Yeah, so there's emotion watches I got, for example, from my wife and daughter that I would never part. But like regardless of that, if there's one watch I need to keep for the rest of my life, it's my Speedmaster Apollo 11 in Moonshine Gold.
That kind of leads to a question that I was on the fence about asking you, but I will now because you brought it up. Which of your watches holds the most sentimental value to you and why?
That's the problem because sometimes I buy a watch because of sentimental reasons, and then you cannot part with it ever again because it has sentimental value. On the other hand, I also understand I can do perfectly without a watch. and that the sentiment is mainly in the memory and not so much in the product. Given all that stuff, I think it's the Omega constellation that I inherited from my grandfather.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah,
beautiful. So that's something that you would never be able to part with.
no, no.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Sort of in the same note, what is the best piece of advice that anyone's ever given you, whether it's watch related or just good life lessons?
Ooh, that's a good one. For watches, it comes from my colleague, but then it used to be the watch dealer that stopped his shop and then joined Fratello. um, Technical condition of a watch. I think aesthetical is also very important, but you can buy an aesthetical, very pleasing watch, but if the technical condition is crap, then yeah, that's opening a can of worms. And I see it a lot at get-togethers that people are very much focused on the aesthetics of a watch. The hands need to fit the lume on the dial, and I don't know what. But for me, the technical condition is equally important. So that's one thing for watches. In life lessons, it's just man, be nice.
Be
That's
nice.
for me. Yeah, be nice. My dad is the perfect example of that. He's super nice guy, and I look up to him. So and he's very I do say integer, very
He's
integer person, super nice, always well spoken, and I think just be nice is important. There's no reason not to be nice, and that's also what I see on social media, especially in YouTube comments, also in comments on our own website and elsewhere. Man, just be nice. What's the point of being negative and being aggressive? And watches should be fun, right? So I think also treat it like that. And I think there's already so much negativity going on in the world, and there might be a lot of negativity going on at your work or at home, perhaps. But then use watches as your outlet to go to a nice place, a happy place, where everyone is happy. And it's possible that a brand will come out with a watch that you don't like, or you don't like the color, or don't like the shape. It's too thick, it's too large, it's too thin, it's too small, yada, yada, yada. Then search for a watch that you do like. Just make sure it's your happy place. And I think that whole uplift spirit is very much needed. And yeah, it's a hobby, right? For many people, it's a hobby or a passion. Then you at least make sure it's a happy one and not a negative one.
agreed. Don't invite something in your life that's going to bring you down. Just be joyous and have it be something fun and positive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's also something about be very nice. That also make sure you surround yourself with positive people. And I think that's such a life changer. If you live by that rule, it makes all the difference.
Well said, RJ. Well, you've done it. We've reached the end, and as a thank you, I'd like to offer you the opportunity to talk about something that you feel passionate about, or something that you like to shine a light on. This could be quite literally anything from a local nonprofit to a great movie that you watched and you just can't stop thinking about, to maybe even a book that you'd recommend or a cause that you just like people to learn some more about. The floor is yours, RJ.
Oh, thank you. So I only know the Dutch version of it, but it's a nonprofit organization that does research in cancer for children. And I feel that children, of course, they suffer from cancer and so on. And I think what they did tremendously well is in the past years or perhaps decades to bring down the percentage of children that will not make it to, yeah, like a not a decent amount because every child is one too many. But yeah, somehow they managed to bring back that number tremendously. So I feel, yeah, if you can spend a little money or spend some effort, have a look at what your local Cancer Research Institute for Children's Cancer has done and can do and needs your help. But of course, always any cancer treatment research fund is a good one, I would say. So I would definitely advise people to do that to make it a better place for children and their parents, and yeah, see what you can do.
Beautiful. Well said. Thank you, RJ. If someone wanted to contact you, what's the best way for people to reach out if they have any more questions?
Well, they can reach out through Instagram. It's at RJ Broer, so that's RJ, Broer, or just send me an email at robertjan@fratello.com.
Perfect. RJ, it's been a joy to speak with you. Thanks for spending some of your precious time with us. Really appreciate you.
Likewise.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Timist Podcast Series. Once again, a huge thanks to our incredible guest, RJ, founder of Fratello Watches, and of course, to all of you for tuning in. That concludes this episode of the Timist Podcast Series. A sincere thank you for hanging out with us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, then please push all the buttons that will help you hear more of us in the future. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can drop a comment in the associated YouTube video or reach out to me on Instagram at TheTimistIG. Thanks for listening. I'm The Timist. Be well, and I'll catch you in the next one.